Hey, 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 happy Thursday. Feliz Quinta-feira. Woo-hoo-hoo. It is also happy Friday Eve. I survived yet. I'm just tilting my screen because my hair is like, survived another week of Portuguese class. Next week is the end. Da, 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 da. Yes, yes, which is probably not that no. I wanted like more of a flourish. Anyway, I'm so happy. Portuguese class is ending next week. I take my final. Uh, I did well on my last test. Like I guess it was considered a B on my last test. And yeah, once I have the final, then we get our certificates in the mail, and that will hold as satisfying my language requirement for Portuguese citizenship or permanent residency. One step closer. So I'm excited. And hey, so for those of you who do not know me, I'm Krishan Wright. I'm the founder of Blaxit Global and the host of the Blaxit Global podcast. I hope you are listening to season 7. I dropped a new episode on Monday. And if you haven't listened, this is your reminder, your nudge, your little tickle to go and listen to that episode. It is featuring Tracy Collins, who also has a YouTube channel. So check her out, listen to the episode, subscribe to her channel. It's a good one. It's a good one. And she's talking about living and thriving abroad, living in San Miguel de Allende, Mexico, which I am excited because Mexico is on my list of countries to travel to this year. And I'm less than 2 weeks away from my big month-long trip to Asia. Yay! I'm super excited. So, getting all of the pieces of the puzzle together for that. And yeah, let me say hi to y'all in the chat. And we have one of our channel members in the chat. Hey, Thomasina, saying hi to Steven. But let's see who was first in the chat. First in the chat tonight was Omolayo One. Hey, boa noite. Boa noite. Yes. Obrigada. Yes. Hey, Winnie B. How you doing? Winnie B, K Renee, hey Thomasina, hey Marcus, how are you? Hope you're doing well. Steven, how you doing? Oh, let's see. Thank you, Harlem Minded. Yes, that is. I have some Krishan isms floating around in the internet, and this is one of them. Open the aperture from my talk. I think the first time I used that was Exodus Summit, and last year when I was a speaker. And y'all also know one of my other ones is live life by design and not by default. So glad that resonated with you. And thank you for the super chat. I definitely appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, it's been a fun week. It's been a busy week. My daughter's also here. So I've got the mom duty thing going. So it's like, woo hoo hoo. Yes, I've been doing the mom thing. We've been out shopping, doing the whole thing, spending a lot of quality time together too. Unfortunately, though, it's been raining here in Portugal. We had a tropical depression, so it's impacted some of the things that I had planned initially, but it's okay. Hey, Evelyn, I'm losing my scroll for, oh, there it is. Here we go. I got my scroll back. I was like, where's my scroll? I was up to Marcus. Hey, Evelyn. Oh, Panama City. Hey, hey, hey. Yes, 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 yes. Teresa, hope you're enjoying your birthday. Happy belated birthday. Hey, Action VJ. Where are you, Action VJ? I have no idea where you are these days. Tanya's in the house. Of course, Harlem Minded. Yes. Hey, Mary. How are you? Hey, hey, hey. So yeah, life is good. Let's see. Maribel. Hey, Anya's in the house. Hello, hello, Sherelle. Hey, the Howards. My friends who I haven't seen in years. I haven't seen since last year. I haven't seen since last year. Venus, how you doing? Hey, 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 Jess. Y'all, I don't even know where that come from. How come you almost threw the phone across the room? Hey, Venus. Hey. Oh yeah, and the those that comment about me and timestamps, that's never gonna happen. No, that's never gonna happen. If you want to do timestamps, you can drop it in their chat. Somebody will follow it and greatly appreciate it. But no, I do enough. Hey, hey, hey. Kim is in the house. Yeah, I've been in this course since September. Since September. 4 days a week, 2.5 hours each day. And I'm now at the limit of how much, like the capacity of how much my brain can hold. Like if I learn another verb that's irregular, that doesn't do what it's supposed to do, the way I learned the other verbs, we're getting at the limit. So I was like, okay, I just got to make it to next Friday. Right? The test is next Thursday. I'm going to be studying, reviewing the things that I'm weak on. Reflexive verbs is one of them, irregular verbs. But I figure, at least for now, time being, I'm only going to speak in the present tense. I do not care about the past. The future has not happened. So in Portuguese, everything is going to happen in the present tense. That's it. I'm convinced that is how I'm going to roll. Now we're learning imperatives. And they also like change. And I'm like, so when are we going in review? Because I'm at capacity of learning new information. But yeah, it's great. And my daughter came with me to class one day. Oh, hey, yes. Did you bring the rain? No, you didn't bring the rain. We had what's it? Tropical depression Garoe, Garoe. Was what caused this phenomenon because usually we don't have rain like this. Hey, Pinky's in the house. Yes, you did, Tanya. Oh, yay. Awesome. Wow. Yes, we met at the airport right after I got off the plane. And Tanya recognized me when I was waiting for my luggage. I'm so glad. I'm so happy you're making progress. I may not be here when you come back. I'll probably be still on my vacation. I'm looking forward to my vacation. Courtney, how you doing? Hey, 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 Jan's in the house. Yes. All right. I think I got everybody. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. Be afraid. No. I've got a great teacher. Hey, Lori. I got a great teacher. Malcolm is in my class, who's been on this channel. And so we're both like going to be studying together next week because, I got to pass the final in order to get the certificate, right? This is what I've been devoting so many months, 10 hours a week, not including homework, projects, studying on the weekends or whenever I have free time, right? Tests, like this is all culminating into next week. And I will be relieved. So they said, of course, because it's Portugal, even though we'll finish next Friday, we won't get their certificate probably until like April or May. This is like, one person that's basically doing all these certificates, right? But it's all good. And then I read something last night because it was saying that, again, another backlog that happens in the country that, right now it's 2025. So I still got some years before I can apply for citizenship. But right now, those people who are in the queue have a 2-year wait. So I'm hoping that in, I think, was it 3.5 years I'm eligible, somewhere around there, 4 years, 3.5 years, that it'll just be like, right? Not real fast because it's citizenship. It is something that's serious and it should have, you know, a little bit of time, right, to earn it, but not 2 years. I need that passport because the passport I have from my home country, hoo hoo hee. I'm trying not to look at the news too much, but it's hard because but I did have an epiphany today. I was like, oh, I don't really need to be reading or consuming content about what Darth Vader is doing because they already said what they were going to do in their 900 plus page manifesto called Project 2025. So even if you didn't read it in its entirety, if you perused it like I did, right? You kind of knew it was coming. But there were those that wanted to bury their heads in the sand and was like, I can't read it. I can't believe this is going to happen. Well, then you're going to believe that you're going to live through this, right? Unless you like start to work your options, work your plan. And that's the difference between, and we'll get to that tonight in the questions, right? Do you let life happen just to you, right? Or do you make things move? And it's not to say if you've lived your life doing it that way, where life is just happening to you, not that you're in the driver's seat, it's not too late to grab a hold of the wheel, right? It's not too late to change, right? Or, right, as Harlem Minded reminded me, open the aperture to something different. I love this. Melon Felon, I love it. Yes, yes, yes. That's right. Go big or go home. Yes. Yeah, and the work, and I'm trying to like walk the line to not like turn it into I could go on a rant about oh boy. But for those of us that are in these jobs, those of you, because right, I no longer do a traditional job. I was very grateful for that the other day when I saw, the rolling back of the equal opportunity and employment, right? The people that are getting furloughed, the federal jobs people, the dismantling of DEI, right? Even though they're starting with the federal government, obviously, right? These billionaires that were at the inauguration and those also behind the scenes, corporations, um, it's not going to be long before they do that, right? They're going to see that person that's been hardworking. They're going to be like, oh, you black, you brown? Oh, look, I can get rid of you now and not worry about a lawsuit, right? Because then when you're sitting there in HR and everybody's looking like you, I mean, come on now. We all know that's going to happen. So it's time to work your plan. Okay. Yeah. Yes, Duolingo is actually a good place to start, even though it's um, Portuguese of Brazil. That's what my teacher says, not Brazilian Portuguese. She goes, Portuguese of Brazil. So, like, that was in my head. All right. Hey, Kim. Yes, that's right. Don't forget to hit the like button. That helps people find us. So, let's get into it. All right. So, obviously, I'm abroad, but I started this podcast, this platform, 5 years ago this year, right? In June, Blaxit Global officially makes 5. So I've been at this longer than I've been abroad, right? So I'm not new to this, I'm true to this. So I've helped a lot of people on their move abroad. Some of them are in the comments, some who have attended our events. And so, this is something that I'm not just passionate about, right? This is something this is my job, right? Like I love to help people move abroad. Oh, that's right. I forgot I had something else to tell you, but I'll tell you that at the end. So stick to the end. So because it's so important, especially at this critical time, right, in history, in American history, and obviously not just Americans, participate in Blaxit Global. I help people around the world, and I help people get to other places around the world, and I help people that live in other countries move to another country. But I know that there's like not just a pattern, but they're the people that are really successful at their lives abroad. You can tell who have done the pre work, if you will, to really test themselves to see if they're ready for this life versus people who are reactionary. And I'm not saying that, we all have our flight or fight complex, right? That ability to get out of danger in harm's way. And in no way, shape, or form am I underestimating what the potential is of, what is it, Melon Felon and his homies, his cronies, his minions to do his bidding. But nevertheless, these are questions that you should ask yourself, right? Before you make a move abroad. So we're going to start with number one. Why? Right? Everyone knows if you've been following me since 2020 or if you just found me yesterday, right? I always ask, what is your why? What is your why? Right? Because your why is going to help you along the journey, not just when you're abroad, especially when you're abroad, but while you're in the process, because the process isn't linear. Sometimes you're taking one step forward, two steps back, right? You might uh, find that you find a country that you like, but there's not a visa that you qualify for. That's what happened to me, right? I love New Zealand, but I didn't have a visa that I could qualify for. It set me on a different path, right? But I was clear on my why. I wanted to move abroad. I wanted to live abroad practically my whole life, right? But, and so I should say, it didn't deter me knowing that one path wasn't available to me. And actually, it wound up being better than I thought it was because I ended up in Portugal, right? But for you, what is your true motivation? What is the thing beyond the, oh, I just want to get out of this country? What is it for you? What is your why? Because that's going to help you when you get to your destination, right? Hopefully. And, say you love an apartment, but you get outbid, right? Or like me, I had to wait 6 months for a residency card, right? After a while, once you're there, you're doing your routine. It's not like Shangri-La, you get off the plane and people are throwing rose petals at your feet like in Coming to America, right? There's there's a realness to this life. And so being clear on your why is going to help you. So, number two, what kind of lifestyle do I want to have? These are the questions that you have to ask yourself. So, do you want to, like some people want to be off the grid? They definitely don't want to, be connected, don't want to have a lot of neighbors, don't want to be in the party zone. Some people want to party. They want to live that life. Ooh, hang on one second. They want to be out here, be out in these streets, having a good time, partying like a rock star. I'm getting hot in here, so I'm trying to cool down. Out here partying like a rock star. Some people want to be on the farm. They want to enjoy themselves and they want to slow down. Some people just want to be at the beach. So think about the life that you want to have. And then how? How are you going to afford this life? If you want to be on the higher end of life, if you want to be on the lower end, some people want to be minimalists when they move abroad. So think about that. And I'll pause here for a second and go back to the comments. Okay. Cool. All right. No questions. All right. I'm flying through this a little bit fast. And then what's your plan, right? What's your money plan? What's your plan for earning income? Are you going to live off of savings and investments? Are you going to work part-time? Do you want to be fully like retire early? Do you want to be semi-retired, have a side hustle become your main hustle? Do you want to have a side hustle? Do you want to live off of a pension, social security, a mixture of things? Like, how are you going to not only earn money, but how are you going to draw on that money when you're abroad? If you're in a country where the dollar is stronger than the currency of the your new adopted land, that's great, right? But currency fluctuates. And so how are you going to manage those things when you want to make bigger purchases, like potentially buy some real estate, maybe buy a business, etc., or any commitments that you might have in your home country? And how long am I planning to stay, right? So, are you able to qualify for a visa that allows you to stay longer than a tourist visa? And again, if you are, what is the cost, right? For that, for you living that lifestyle. So, if you're planning to stay and maybe you don't want to be fully abroad, maybe you want to go for 90 days, 2 months. Some people alternate. They want one country 1 month, go back to their home country. Go away for another 2 months, come back to their home country. They're not really ready to make a commitment. So they're like country shopping, country dating. So just piggying back for a second, one of the ways that you can help, kind of sharpen your plan is using online tools. And for people that have been abroad like 10 plus years, some of these tools weren't even around and available at that time, but there's great resources like Numbeo that you can use, that helps you kind of fine tune and see what the cost of living is in the country that you're interested in. And I know, yes. And that's the thing, because that's a great point. So Kim says, I feel like my budget is a moving target with Portugal's cost of living on the rise. Yes. And just to let you know, because there was an article that we shared the other day in Blaxit Global Passport, our private community, is that costs are on the rise in Portugal, at least for the next 2 years, right? So part of what we do in Black's Global Passport is to work on, those budgets, that budgeting process to help you sharpen your plan. And so I just pulled it up. Let me see. So this is the site that I wanted to share with you, Numbeo, and I'll put this also in the chat for some of you who probably aren't as familiar, but you can look at a site like this, and I put the link in the chat, and you can say, I don't know, New York, New York, right? Manhattan. This is what it costs to live. Now, again, this is like crowdsourced information. This takes a lot of assumptions into consideration. So, this is the cost of living for a family of four, and those estimated costs are, it's showing me euros because I'm in Europe now, first, but over $6,300. And for a single person, monthly costs estimated, and these are without rent, of course, right? But when you look at this line right here, New York is 116% more expensive than living in Lisbon, right? And rent is 200. I've not looked at this in a minute. Than living in Lisbon, right? So you can compare different cities around the world, right? And look at other data points, but this is a great resource that you can use. So wanted to share that with you. Okay, yeah, that's just me back. Okay, so when you think about how long you're planning to stay, like what are the things that you're able to do? So a lot of times, and I think I went over this the other week, um, is that when you're on a visa, right, you only have a certain amount of time that you're legally permitted to stay. And we'll go into that a little bit later. But think about how you want to do it, right? Like I said, some people want to test drive a life abroad for a year before they make a full commitment. And this might be something that suits you. And then, am I ready to embrace a new culture? This is something that, I talked about a little bit when I had my talk on Saturday for the Expat Summit, and we talked about like fixed mindset and growth mindset. So being able to be a person who is of like solutions focused, growth mindset, is that you're more prone to be able not just to go with the flow, but open the aperture, right? Be able to embrace different things, try different things, be willing to extend yourself, be willing to be humbled. So a lot of the process of living abroad is being humbled. You say things. I say things incorrectly all the time. Right. My daughter and I were in the store the other day and she picked up something and I was like, oh, that says it has like bananas in it. That was not what it said. And she knows zero Portuguese and she was like, Mom, that's not what that says. Right. So I like when I make mistakes all the time, I laugh because I think it's hilarious. Right. But not some people aren't open to that, right? They're just very fixed and rigid in their thinking, very linear, very black and white, right? No shades of gray, no coloring outside the lines. If that is you, right? Everything's got to be in this box. Everything's got to, you know, move accordingly. You might have a harder time like being abroad because it's a constant learning process, and I think it's essential for supporting brain health that I'm every day, experiencing new stimuli. No day is the same as the day before. Whereas when I was in the States and I was working, and even when I wasn't working, right, and had free time, it felt like Groundhog's Day, right? Like I would do my routine every day. I could do it with my eyes closed, right? And now I just have, a breadth of different experiences, people from different cultures. I learned today about a dish called francazinha, and I had never heard about that. It's a Portuguese dish. And I was like, oh, okay. And talked about like, there were various invasions of the French and, there was no food. And that's how this particular dish came to be. And so it's like, oh, wow, right? Like literally every day I'm learning something new. Um, doesn't mean I'm going to eat it, probably not, but being able to embrace a new culture is part of the process. And what's even better is if you can do some type of cultural exchange where you meet somebody and they want to learn more about, your culture. Number 7, do I understand the visa requirements, right? We went over this in a video the other week, and I guess afterwards I'll link that video to this one to make it really easy. But like I said, in order to be able to legally stay in another country, you're permitted to stay past your passport requirements, you're going to need a visa. And there's work visas, there's student visas, there's a whole plethora of visas. There's always new ones that they add. Like a few years ago, they didn't have digital nomad visas, and now they do, right? And each country has different requirements. Some countries have a retirement visa that's tied to an age, right? 60 plus. Some countries like Portugal don't have an age-based retirement visa, and that's why I'm here. And the income requirements vary. Okay, going to go to, oh, no questions. All right, y'all good. Uh, okay. Okay. We're flying through these. Okay. What will I do about my healthcare? Now, this is a big one. Oftentimes, reality is a lot of Americans have not and do not live healthy lifestyles, primarily because the food is questionable, lots of chemicals, lots of additives. They have sedentary lifestyles. They're not really able to get out and walk. They're also in these high stress jobs. And so, what that does is, all of these things compound and either make you where you're more susceptible to illness, or illnesses start to just get worse over time. And this is a real reason why people need healthcare. But it isn't always like when you're sick, right? I go to the doctor all the time now because it's affordable, right? I'm able to get tests to make sure I'm in a healthy state of mind, a healthy state of body. I have greater activity, greater access to foods. But the healthcare system in Portugal and most of the world is affordable. And so when you think about like your health care, think about cost, but don't just think about cost, right? I think when you're scouting these countries, you want to, especially if you're on any type of medical regimen or you have a serious disease that needs management, like diabetes, sickle cell, or if you're undergoing cancer treatment or anything like that, you want to make sure that there's, good health care in the countries that you're considering. Are the medicines that you're on or maybe on, are they available in that country? Are they available at a reasonable cost, right? Even better if it's free. And so these are some of the type of things that you want to consider, because sometimes people go and they think, oh, I just want to move to this country. And they don't realize like there's a whole decision tree that extends beyond just the physical placement. It's what are the quality, right, of the doctors that they have available? Do they have specialists? What is the process for using a free system, right, or a private system? Are there reimbursement opportunities? So those are some of the things that you want to think through. And then additionally, if you're in a country like I am, right, where I'm learning the language, but I don't pretend to have any level of proficiency when it comes to anything legal, medical, and financial. Those three areas I really need to have in English. But I am finding that the more I go for doctor visits, like to my dentist and, um, just routine like treatment, that I am doing those more in Portuguese than I am in English. We'll do it for like a couple minutes. Like I was at the dentist the other day and it was a consult. And so we were there for an hour. I was like, when in the States have I just like talked? Right? I mean, he had his hands in my mouth, he was cleaning my mouth and everything, but I had to go two times, one for a cleaning and one for a consult. And both times, like, I was there for well over an hour, and it was just like we were talking, talking about, the country, doing some of the treatment, in Portuguese. And so I don't pretend to know like all of the words, but I can kind of figure out context, like, open your mouth, does this hurt? Those type of things. And just being able to do that now and extend myself just a little bit more, I'm like, oh, look at me. But it's great. Like I had 6 or 7 doctor visits in the past, I'd say 2 weeks, because I'm trying to get a whole lot of stuff out of the way before I go on my big trip. And the total bill for all of those visits is 180 because they just sent me the bill today. And I was like, oh, wow. And no surprise balance bill later? How wonderful. But it's really important to get those things under control and know what you're getting yourself into, because you want to know about, are there surprises, are there things like balance billing. um, Not all countries, even if they have a free system, work well. I've had quite a few conversations with people who are considering leaving the UK because their healthcare system, according to them, is trash, right? And so you want to learn not just from expats that are living in the country that you're considering, but you want to know from the locals, like, what do they feel about their healthcare system? That's where you're going to get to the nitty gritty. Because, not to say like expats aren't, people that live abroad aren't, a good source of information, but you have to keep in mind, and that's kind of what we talked about on the first episode of the Blaxit Global podcast this season with Maureen. It's like when you're in that beginning stage of your move abroad and you're actually living in that country, you kind of have like rose colored glasses on for a period of time, right? That country can do no wrong. It's like, yay, right? So you want to ask somebody who's been there a couple years, you want to ask somebody who's a local, like, what are they actually feeling and thinking about, the system? Are they thinking that the wait times are long? Are they thinking that doctors are leaving because of low pay, right? Like, that's what you want to know, what you're signing up for when you choose this life. And let's see okay, there's my scroll. I was like, my scroll keeps disappearing. Um, let's see. Thank you. I tried to convince her to come today, but she was tired. Let's see. What? I mostly do that. Yes, there's blacksitglobal.com is our website. It was down this weekend. I had to do site migration, but it's back up and running now. Yeah. I mostly share my journey here on YouTube. And I also share the journey on the Blaxit Global podcast, season 7. uh, yeah, I bet. I bet. So some questions. Let's see. Pinky. Uh, yes, that is. Yes, that is true. It is a sandwich, yes. And what we were doing in class today is we had the recipe, and then we had to um, we learned about the sandwich, then we had the recipe, and then we had to use the imperatives to conjugate them in order to follow the steps of the recipe. So we didn't actually eat it, we just read about it. But yes, I know why, because it's some booze in there. They have booze in the sandwich. I was like, what? It's like a beer, like real beer sauce. Whew. I was like, well, I couldn't try it right now anyway, because I'm in dry January. And what's today? Today's 23rd. Yeah, since New Year's. Not one lick of alcohol. Alcohol. Yeah, I have to try one, like, at some point. I haven't given up alcohol entirely, but I'm taking a break. So which country requires you to be 60? That varies. It's 195 countries out in this globe. So each one has different requirements, but you can certainly do your Googles and find out. But New Zealand was definitely one of them. But what made that one in Australia at the time, I'll digress for a second, attractive to me was that when I first made a concept of this time period being when I would be abroad, be 50 plus and my kids be grown, I was like, oh, I could work 10 years and I could work like crazy hours because I won't have to run home and like make dinner and blah, blah, blah. And I started looking at superannuation countries. So those are countries where, you know, you work and you pay into a retirement system there in that new country, and then I'd be able to qualify for those benefits. But if you look up superannuation, it'll probably bring up a Wikipedia article and list the countries that have superannuation. But that was one of the things I learned about in my early research about New Zealand. And then I was talking to, you know, people when I was on that first scouting trip, Uber drivers, whoever had an ear. I was asking my questions. Um, Winnie, regarding visa requirements, is there any other site other than country embassies? I would say, yeah, I'd say country embassies or the consulate, right, is the most accurate because you know that's the rule. That's the rule that they follow. When you go through other resources, and I was kind of talking about this a little bit at the expat summit, you know, when you go to other resources or if you're following, you know, YouTubers like myself, you know, sometimes we're a little further removed from the process, right? Like I'm what, almost 18 months out from my process, and my process is different than some of my members who are going through it right now. And so I've got to, you know, keep up to speed with some of the changes. But I would say the country's embassy, you know, page or consulate is the most accurate. Sometimes people get fixated on, oh, well, you know, this influencer said it only costs, you know, 800 a month to live in Portugal, right? That might have been true 4 years ago, 5 years ago, right? That is not true in 2025. And so that's the danger in getting fixated on a number. And that's why I don't do the, hey, here's all the countries you can live for under 1,000, right? Like it's great for clicks and videos and views, but it's not really practical, right? Because numbers change. Um, so hopefully that answered your question. Um, Yeah, elder care, it's interesting. That is one that I've been probing because I haven't seen, I'm sure they exist, but I haven't seen like nursing homes per se. What I have seen, and I've been quite through most of the country, I haven't done the islands yet, but is that the elderly people here live on their own for the most part, right? They may have family that checks in on them, but you will see them living independently, 80 years old plus, getting on buses, either unassisted or if they'll have walkers or something like that, or a cane, climbing up those hills. I've seen old people, I'm like, wow, right? And if you are in a country, right, or the lifestyle is such where, you know, they're climbing these stairs their whole lives, these hills, you know, their bodies aren't deteriorating at the rate in which, you know, when I went back to the States for Thanksgiving, I saw people younger than me in those little scooter things in Walmart. And I'm like, what the heck? So, like I said, I know they have like some type of congregate living because I've seen some near Principe Real. That area, yeah, I guess it would be, yeah, bordering Principe Real and like the Ratu area. I've seen one, but for the most part, people live independently, and they're very tied to their family. So they're either close to their family, or they're quite a few of the units. If you like really spend some time in Portugal and go through like a lot of Airbnbs, like I did on my scouting trips, you will see intergenerational living. So some of these apartments are gigantic, and that's because they were multi-generational. And so, you know, mom, dad, their kids, right? All under one roof. So it's not as isolative. But that's the difference in being in a country where, you know, it's more communal than a country that's more individualistic, like the US. Ooh, I gotta try it, but after dry January. uh, whoa, wow. Yeah, yeah. It's I would say for anybody who's concerned about the US, and I'm assuming that that's the comment is related to that. I would say read Project 2025 or skim it. At least you know how it's supposed to go, where it's going. This way you don't get as um we're at this they are right, or you're at this point where with Darth Vader's return, is that there's been a flurry of executive action, all these other things, and it's this kind of like it's almost like Pavlov's dog in a way, right? Where he's constantly doing stuff and then you're constantly consuming content because you don't know what's coming up next, right? It's like, oh, what's he saying now? Let me run to the internet. Let me run on YouTube. Let me run in. And that's no way to live because you're just being triggered constantly. And again, it just kind of goes back to my earlier comment about health and healthcare, right? You change your baseline, and you don't even realize that you're under stress because there's this like low level stress that kind of always is pervasive, and you have to start to disconnect from that. So one of the things I'm really looking forward to on my extended vacation is actually taking a digital break. I've been kind of pulling back from some of the stimuli from some of these other sources of information. The elections already happened. I've skimmed 2025. They're doing their 90-day playbook, right? So you kind of just have to. This is our time to let these people see what they voted in, right? Yeah, no problem. No problem. Hey, Siobhan. Yoga Bliss Dan said regarding aging, while in Italy in a small town, old ladies, 80s, 90s climbing hilly streets. Oh, yeah. Yep. They do it all the time. I'm like, unassisted, or they may have like, a grandkid, a niece, a nephew, something. Almost definitely. Yes. Yes. They get to, if an elderly person comes behind you, you haven't put your stuff up, but like you're in line, they go in front of you, you give up your seat, when you're boarding the bus, they go in front. There's a lot of deference to the elderly for sure. It makes me not want to color my gray. Because when you're melanated, it's very hard to tell. And so it's like, while I might look like I'm not 50, I am. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. And that's why I say definitely read Project 2025. That's what's going to happen. Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is. It is. Yeah. Yes, you have to protect your energy. Absolutely. Yeah. Um yes. You see the little but it's cute. Like this in the front I could deal with. It's cute. It's like I used to work with this girl years ago. I was in high school and she was 17, I think, and I was like 14 at the time. And Josephine. And she had this, she was Italian. She had this long, long, beautiful black hair, like was down her butt. But then she had this patch of gray hair, equally long. And it was like a genetic thing in her family. And so she was like, yeah, I look like a skunk because she had this like big, thick patch of gray hair, but it looked so cute. And she was like 17 years old and had this big, like, yay, couple inches. I thought that was so cool. I was like, oh my gosh. Now I'm like, oh, look, I got my own little patch. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, it is. And it's more of a reason to get out. It's more of a reason to get out. It shouldn't be the only reason, but I said more of a reason, right? So you should already have a reason, more of a reason, not the sole reason, you know. Okay, back to the list. All right, we left off at healthcare, I believe, right? Okay, let me go back down. Where's my scrolly? Scrolly. Uh-oh. I think I lost my scroll. Okay, here we go. I really need to spend some more time with this new computer. Um, so, how do I build a support system? One great way is to join Blaxit Global Passport. Yay! Blaxit Global Passport, our private community off of social media, which, if you paid attention to the inauguration, you saw all the little, um, Meta and all those other fools and Elon, was it Leon Muskrat uh, there? And so, a lot of people are thinking about getting off of some of those platforms, right, that are owned by these people, which is why Blacks Global was no longer on Facebook and we had our own private community. And so this is Blaxit Global Passport, your first class ticket to living the life of your dreams. And so you too can join. And so you can do it monthly or an annual membership. You can also have Blaxit Global Passport on the go. That's the way I interact actually with the site the most is through mobile. So you can do the app, and I will drop the link to that so you can join us in Passport. We actually have our February accountability check-in. We have a monthly accountability group, and early February is going to be the next one because I will be out of Dodge after that. So let me drop the link for that in the chat. Oh, and I also had, when I was talking about jobs, I have to give you that too. Okay. Number 10, and then we'll run through the list again. Number 10, am I mentally and emotionally prepared for the challenges of moving abroad? So this is something that we talked about last season with Dr. Londi. If you remember, Dr. Londi was a guest on the Blaxit Global podcast, and she lives in Japan. She's also a clinician, and so we talked about that adjustment because it's a mental and emotional lift. One, making sure that you're in the right headspace, because even though you're physically moving yourself there to a new place, wherever you go, there you are, right? So if, again, remember what I was saying, things happen to you, or are you a person who's in control and in the driver's seat? If you're of a fixed mindset, woe is me, Eeyore, the sky's falling, more than likely those things will be real for you abroad, right? It all depends on your personality. How willing are you to be malleable, to be open to different things? That said, little asterisk there, sometimes these maladaptive behaviors come out of survival. Like these are things that you kind of have put on this armor just to be able to live and get through the day. And it's only after you extricate yourself out of this and that environment, that toxic environment, right, that you're able to open up, that you're able to start to, chisel away at all of those layers and get back to you discovering who you are, right? You have not yet met the person that you are going to be on this journey. That person is there waiting for you. And that person is probably, kind of whispering to you, ever so softly, and probably getting more loud now that, the billionaire boys club are performing their heist, um, is, talking to you and saying, you can do this. You can do this, right? You can do hard things. You can live the life of your dreams. And so getting into therapy is part of that. Having coaching when it relates to, the emotional rigors of moving abroad, being in a community and a cohort that can help you because people are either on the same journey step or a little bit ahead or a little bit behind, right? Those are the things that are going to help normalize your experience because for many, we're the first in our families to do this, right? I'm the first person in my family to like completely leave, right? And it's been a learning process, right? This is my second time that my daughter has flown over here to spend time with me. And so, we're learning and having a new rhythm. We're also experiencing things together. But I'd be lying if I didn't say, like, I'm going to be missing her when she leaves in a few days, right? And so, being able to be emotionally prepared for the things that you're going to miss, the moments that you're going to miss, and the moments that they're going to miss, right? They're going to miss things in your life, right? That you can describe, but it's not going to be the same. Relationships, some of them are going to grow stronger, some of them are going to fall by the wayside. But are you mentally prepared to deal with those changes? Aw, thank you, Winnie. Thank you. Uh, yes. Come on, come on, come on with it, Teresa. Let's go. Let's go. We gotta get you to Portugal or Spain. One of the two. Let's see. Pamela. This week alone, I've had therapy twice and I've attended 3 online prayer services. Yes, definitely lean into those supports. And as somebody who I leaned into those, because like I said, I started Blaxit Global in 2020, and we all know what was going on there. And it was coming out of, the videos really, right? Because it was the Ahmaud Arbery murder, George Floyd, then and the video releases, kind of came in that order, of Breonna Taylor, and even though the incidences happened in a different order, the release of the videos is what I'm talking about specifically. And America loves trauma porn. And so, especially when it comes to Black and brown bodies, and just seeing those images over and over again was very distressing, and compound with the lockdown and everything. And so I leaned on, therapy, leaned on other online channels to talk it out because, I had to let it out, and other people needed to let it out. And so there's a collective grieving that's happening in America. I'm not going to deny that that's happening. And for those people who voted for him, they're actually elated. One of the things that I like to do is kind of see how the other side's dealing with it. And I spent some time looking on Fox before I came on. And, as much as we are like, what the hell is going on? They're like, yeah, 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 right? It's also very interesting. And again, I don't recommend this for everybody, but, I spent 10 years of my life in politics, 3, 4 years in television. So I kind of have a different, not just understanding, but I guess tolerance, curiosity about it. And so I went on, the other side, like I said, to see, and the things that they're sharing. Wow. I'm like, CNN and all these other people aren't talking about this stuff. So it's actually good to peek on the other side too. Because what I did not see in all of the media that I consumed, and I consume more, I guess, quote unquote, liberal media, they were not talking about these raids. And there have been 33 hours of straight raids going on. And I know they're not lying about that. And I was like, what? I did not see this on CNN. I did not see this in the New York Times. I did not see it on any other source. Videos and everything. I was like, wow. So that's what I said. Like, one of the things that I think everybody could do a little bit better collectively is critical thinking and do your due diligence, right? Because there's so much biased information out there. It's important to, if you have, the capacity, of course, is to kind of look at one side's argument and the other side and then form your own opinion, right? Versus being swayed, because the people that are, especially the, formal media, advertisers, corporations, politicians, right, all have a hand in crafting a certain message to the people, right? Because where it should be unbiased and what we were told, it wasn't. It actually is. And now more than ever. Now more than ever. Oh yeah. Well, I've seen also a couple of them that have gotten burned by their own vote. Where it's like, oh, I didn't know you was going to lose my job, or I was going to lose my job. And the funny thing is that, I mean, they're so bad. Let me digress for 1 second. It's so bad. They're like, oh, I'm losing my job. We were supposed to get this house. This one I saw today. We were supposed to get this house, and my wife had this job, but then she had a job offer. She was going to start, but now that's one of the roles that you just said is going to be on hold, and they rescinded her job offer, and now we can't afford to get this house. And I know you didn't mean it because we voted for you. And I was just like, what the hell? I know you didn't mean us. It was an unintended consequence. I was like, Lord, the mental gymnastics that they have to do to stay in the dark is like, oh, damn. It's crazy. It's crazy. NHR is already back. NHR 2.0. Now, the criteria is different, but it is NHR. It is. It's back. It's just different. All right. I think I got to it. Let me go through the list one more time, and then I think we're good. All right. So for those of you who've been keeping your pen and paper handy, one of these days I'm going to get this scroll down. All right. Why do I want to move abroad? These are the 10 questions you need to ask yourself. Why do I want to move abroad? What kind of lifestyle do I want to have? Can I afford it? What is my plan for earning an income? And so this is the one that I meant to drop in there before. So you might want to grab Libria Jones's Remote Ready bundle. So for those of you who are looking for a remote job, I highly recommend Libria Jones's Remote Ready bundle. And I got another one for you after. Okay. All right, back to my list. How long am I planning to stay? Right? I'm a huge proponent of scouting trips, as you know. Nomad Noir spring cohort will be arriving in March. But another way you can do it is through house sitting, which is what I did last year. Got to spend some time in the UK, so I'll drop my link to Trusted House Sitters. You can do that and see, kick the tires. A lot of people have been trying House sitting is a great option because you're not paying for your accommodations. You're able to do like this, exchange. You're keeping someone's house, tidy, watching their pets for them while they're away, and you get to enjoy, a new place. And so that's what I did. And I was able to spend some time. I went to Stonehenge. I went to the Roman baths. Did a whole bunch of things while I was on a house sit. Win win. But let's see. Am I ready to embrace a new culture? Big one. Do I understand the visa requirements? What do I do about healthcare? That's a big one. I thought I have another. Yes, I do. Here's a link to Safety Wing Insurance. And so you can find out about healthcare options with that. How do I build a support system? You can join us in Blaxit Global Passport. That would be your ticket to a new life abroad. And am I mentally and emotionally prepared for the challenges of moving abroad? So those are the 10 questions you should ask yourself. And hopefully that will, again, journaling is a great way to get, thoughts out of your head and onto paper, help you organize your thoughts. But this is why these questions are really important. The luxury bucket list is on a scouting trip in Rome. All right. Yes. No, it is no worries. No worries. Yes, I know. I know. They'll learn. This is the one we get to sit it out. We get to rest. We get to rest, and they get look at the tomfoolery that's going on. No, they didn't ask me anything. Nope. I say I'm here on holiday. Mm-mm. Uh, yeah. I mean, they pretty much did a test drive with turning TikTok off, which I thought was crazy, right? Because I was like, they worry about TikTok, but like all our phones are from China. All of everything, and everybody's home. Like that's the thing you worried about. And you see how they shut it down, right? Everything is a test. That was a dry run. And I said, oh, I said, so China's bad, right? So that's why y'all gotta steal TikTok, because that's the only social media platform that is not US owned. And it's eating their lunch. Zuck and Elon. You mean the billionaires that was hanging out with you at the inauguration? Would you worry about Chinese products? Anybody heard of Timu? Like, I can't even fly to Cuba or get a Cuban cigar or anything from Cuba in the United States, right? So it's like critical thinking, critical thinking. All right, let's see. Let's see. I think we got it. Oh, wait. Uh, da, 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 da. Oh, Jean, am I too paranoid? How it seems so intimate. You're in a stranger's home. Faith, faith. You don't just roll up in their home, right? Like I had a video chat with the family that I sat for. I actually slept really well. I thought I was going to be like, oh my God, I'm sleeping in a stranger's home. No, I was in the countryside, the UK, had a good time. It was expensive. I was like, "Ooh, shit!" I thought about that a little bit more thoroughly. Even taking out accommodation, I was like, "Ooh, damn, the pound! Goodness gracious!" But yeah, yeah, exactly. You get Timu, like lift up anything in your house. Let me see. I'm living. Let me look up this. Where is this made? I bought this little thing yesterday. Yeah, I bought this little massager, but it doesn't reach all the way. And so the AC made in China. I go to other countries and I like to get like shot glasses and mostly shot glasses to with because they usually make them really pretty. So Paris and Sevilla and New Zealand, a couple other ones, right? And it made in China. It's so funny. Oh my gosh, safe travels. Mm. Aw, it sounds like you're having the time of your life. Um, the odds of having it, yeah, yeah, yeah. I know, you gotta stop watching the scary movies. Right? Because you know why? You're missing out on so many other experiences, right? Maybe you'll go to a sit and, I doubt it. I'm not saying it couldn't happen. Um, I'm just saying that it's unlikely that that's gonna happen, right? And there's a process. These people are vetted, you're vetted, you go through a whole background check and everything. So it is, especially if you use trusted house sitters, um, it's less likely to happen. All right, y'all. I think we did it. We're at a little over an hour. Yay. And I still got, my not so little one, because she's turning 20 this year. But she's still here. So I want to soak up some mommy daughter time. It's been real kicking it with you tonight. Hope you got a lot out of tonight's talk. Be sure to listen to the Blaxit Global podcast. Another new episode in 2 weeks. I'll still be dropping episodes while I'm away, and then we might take a little hiatus to give me a little time to catch up because I'm having a serious digital cleanse is what I'm calling during my time away in Asia. So it's getting closer, but I'm looking forward to it. So I'll be back next week, same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, be safe, be well, and I'll see you later.